diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Double Daily Trudge. I just love it when Restream moves everything. They like got rid of stuff, added stuff, but it moves where my theme song is. So I had to like search for it. Grr, more inconvenience in my life. Oh, buggers. Hi, Michelle. Good to see you. Oh, man. It has been a busy day. Lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff. I had a pretty good meeting with his name's Jose. He's the executive director for a called Consortium. And get in some work groups, do some more helping. Put together my 3-minute talk for tomorrow morning. All right, because we're going to be talking about the abatement money. The definition for that is to end reduction prevention, and none of the stuff that they did really geared to. So I went through each thing that they said where they put it. All right, like $199,000, $650 to roofers in recovery, Hope in the Valley to put new roofs on sober livings. What does that have to do with prevention and reduction? Doesn't have anything to do with it. So, yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to invade all these work groups where they where these people are at, so that they can see my pretty face, and I'll be asking questions. But mostly been working on resource stuff, getting good resources. I'm making my own resource list, and I'm going to impose it on other people to use it. My pastor thinks I'm so funny. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm not worried about that other stuff anymore. Gotta let it go. It can't be the only thing I do, or drive a man crazy. I do know this. I was just in an AA meeting, and the topic was fear, and Trump's name was brought up more than anything. Well, it came up several times, and we got to be careful what we're saying in these meetings. I mean, we all have our political views, but they don't have a place in the AA meeting. I know that maybe, you got to keep it generalized. Okay. But I mean, come on. We're supposed to be a proactive people. And my point was, where's God in all this? Where's your courage? Where's your ingenuity? Are you going to complain about what the president is doing? Or are you going to become a better person? You can go out and do something. So stop whining and go help another alcoholic. Welcome to Daily Trudge. My name's Dion. Good chance I'll be running a lot of people off for a little bit, because I don't know. I'm not closed-minded, but man, there's a way to do this shit. Oh, you didn't have to do that, Amber. I know you're busy. Auto capture on Facebook, we'll call it. This is just a reading I'm doing out of a day at a time. I'm kind of filling up my time. So if you're here, please say hello, whether watching the live or the rewatch. I must be dehydrated. More water. Water. Right. Why is liability insurance up on my? Oh, yeah. So it looks like the meeting, the in-person meeting, is going to be put off for a few weeks. They sent me a message and said, "Do you have insurance?" I'm like, "AA carry an insurance policy?" An AA meeting. I looked it up, and yeah, a lot of them do it. But instead, they're going to do whatever they need to do, which is good because I'm sorry, I'm just not willing to go look for liability insurance for an AA meeting. I'm just not willing to do that. I want to ask somebody else to do it. But at the same time, I can either, and here again, I can either bitch that the meeting's going to be off for 2 weeks, or I can listen that God's trying to tell me something. Those are my options. And it's clear God doesn't want it to happen that way. So we're going to listen to God in this. We'll let them cover the insurance so we don't have to worry about it, because what he said was, I want to remove as many barriers as I can. So I have to remember that these are growing pains. This is something new for them, new for us, and that sometimes it might get delayed. My only concern is that if we put flyers out which say that it starts April 9th, that is my only concern on it. So, but we will see. We will see. So yeah, I started my resource list, looking for new resources. If you're local to Colorado and know some good sober living, just resources for recovery, please let me know. Otherwise, let's start with slips and relapses. This one talks about slips. What is a slip and what is a relapse? Is there a difference? Yes, there is. Yeah. People, you'll hear somebody say, relapse is a part of my recovery. And they're saying it that way because it has R's in it. It's actually slips. A relapse is not part of the recovery process, but a slip is. So I'm going to tell you the difference real quick. A slip means you drank and came right back. A relapse means that you drank and you went back out for years. That's the difference between the two. That is the clinical definition between the two. All right. So a slip is much different than a relapse. A relapse is not part of recovery because recovery may not happen again. Right. Now, just because somebody says relapse is part of my, I'm not going to sit there and correct them. But the more you know, the more educated you are about what it is that we're talking about, the better you'll understand where people are coming from. Now, I would not suggest running around and correcting people on that. Just don't. Pick your battle on that one. Okay. Are slips a part of recovery? Yes, because it can be a learning process. Just because you drank does not mean the world is over. If you've been in the program 6 months and you had a slip over the weekend and you came right back, that is progress in my book. That is progress. You wouldn't have done that before, which means it's progress. And aren't we supposed to progress? If you learn from it, it's not a bad thing. Was it a mistake? Sure. But we don't need to have this overwhelming need to beat the fuck out of ourselves because we did something wrong. Watch out for those extreme emotions that lead to beating up on yourself, because they will serve you no good. Getting angry at yourself, calling yourself names will not keep you sober. It is not a path to recovery. Internal honesty is. All right. What causes a slip? This comes out of Hazleton, Date of Time, April 2nd, Liberation Day. What causes slips? What happens to a person who apparently seems to understand and live the way of the program, yet decides to go out again? And I'll hear some people, there's some people I hear, they're like, I just don't understand how you have so much time and go out. Okay, you got 60 days. Shut up. You clearly don't understand the program yet. That's why you're saying that. Okay? But don't announce your ineptitude. Silly. You don't understand it because you haven't been through it. So maybe you ought to thank God instead. Just like when we were talking about fear. Nobody was bringing up God. All they were doing is pointing fingers at other things. What can I do to keep this from happening to me? You may not have a choice. You may deal with something in this life that you don't know how to handle, and alcohol suddenly becomes a solution again. And if it's sitting right there, you may not have a choice. That's why we get a daily reprieve contingent upon our spiritual maintenance. What do these people say? Now, there are precursors to relapse sometimes. You might emotionally relapse first. What can I do? Is there any consistency among those who slip, any common denominators that seem to apply? Yes. Yes, there are some common ones. What is the common one? Dealing with something you didn't know how to handle. SLIP stands for sobriety lost its priority. That's not quite true. Ah. Actually, it is true. It's 100% true. I was wrong on that. We can each draw our own conclusions, but we learn in the program certain inactions will all but guarantee an eventual slip. I would agree with this. Absolutely. Inaction. Half measures availed us nothing. If you do nothing about your alcoholism, you will get nothing. The saying meeting makers make it, dependent on other things, like getting a sponsor, doing the steps. Okay. You don't just get to go to your 1 hour meeting. Oh, I went to a meeting and I listened to what they said, so I'm good for the day. Nope. This is a way of life. Not an hour. We don't get well by going to a meeting once a day. There's got to be work in it. Turn on your damn cameras. Be accountable. Join the meeting. Claim your spot. Do it or suffer the consequence. The consequence is an alcoholic death. And that choice is yours. All right. When a person who has slipped is fortunate enough to return to the program, do I listen carefully to what he or she says about that slip? Sure, I do, but they hardly ever talk about it because they don't know why. Most of the time they will say, I don't even know why I drank. Well, what was going on that day? Well, it was really nice. It was just a great day. There you go. Springtime sends more people out drinking than anything else. Because the weather got warm and winter is over, at least Colorado sends more people out than any other thing. Yeah, March Madness. That day where everybody's Irish, St. Patrick's Day, it's the biggest slip holiday. It's the biggest relapse holiday. And it isn't because it was St. Patrick's Day. It was because you could go out and pee in the park because it was warm enough at 3:00 in the morning. I used to love doing that. Right? There'd be a lot of reasons. It's usually inaction. You decide to go to the bar instead of a meeting. There you go. That'll do it. That was a choice. Right? I don't think it's very fair of you. This was clearly written by somebody who's not an alcoholic, or at least a recovered one. Yeah, I can tell just by the questions that they're asking. Is it my job to figure out their slip? No. Why'd they go out? Because they were dealing with something beyond their own means. What does that mean? Well, probably means that they refused to do the third and fourth step. Probably a two-stepper. I was a chronic relapser. Just couldn't seem to get it. Is my inaction. My inaction. Hadn't had enough yet. Consequences just weren't severe enough yet. All right. All right. May my higher power, if I listen, show me if I am setting myself up to get high again, drunk again. May I glean from the experience of others that the reason for such a lapse or resolve or such an accident of will most often stem from what I have not done rather than from what I have done. May I keep coming back to meetings. It's just, God, I'm just not big on blanket answers right now. Well, just keep coming back. Okay. Hopefully there was something in the meeting for me to keep coming back to. I'll remember keep coming back. All right. I know for me this is a very, very short one. But I was just trying to cover about 15, 20 minutes. Thought I'd cover something like that. So I appreciate everybody being here. Got set up for a meeting. It's in 33 minutes for anybody that'd like to join us. I love you. You know I do. Peace out. And have a day.